The Full Spectrum Podcast, presented by Champions and Legends. Champions and Legends produces hemp-derived CBD sports supplements for athletic preparation, performance, and recovery. Discover Champions and Legends on the World Wide Web at championsandlegends.com. This is the Full Spectrum Podcast with Big Data and Maverick, available wherever you get your podcasts.
So, hey, Big Data. How you doing,
Present.
buddy? Anything I get for you, or you okay?
Maybe a few quaaludes.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you this. My sex therapist tells me this all the time. That sometimes talking is more of a viable expression of yourself than yelling and screaming and doing other stuff, right? So how about we do the pod? People chime in, they download us because they love what we have to say, and we'll progress. We'll slowly get into the NCAA and the finals and all that great stuff that happened. Okay, just nice and easy,
Now,
buddy. Nice
Maverick,
and easy.
you're
Okay?
also a doctor, correct? You have a psychotherapy degree? This will
Yes,
come in
of course I
handy.
do.
It'll come in very
I
handy.
do. Oh, you know I'm here for you. I'm here for you. This is all about you today, okay? I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here to make you feel good. So, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to start off with a little NFL talk. You know what? Something came down over the wire over the last 24 hours on top of the loss of the hold on. What I meant to say was there was some NFL news, and it's our good friends over in New York. The New York Jets. You want to talk about losers? Let's talk about the New York Jets for a little bit, right? Here's a team that at the beginning of the season, Big Data, as you know, they had a chance to get the guy that everyone wants, Trevor Lawrence. All they had to do was do what they were doing, which was nothing. Keep losing, and you'll get them. What does this team do? They go and win. What did that do? That knocked them from number 1 pick to number 2 pick. Now, granted, there's 4 pretty big elite quarterbacks that are going to go in this year's draft. In fact, they're now saying that it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, unprecedented in the NFL draft. That will be 4 straight quarterbacks taken from mock drafts and analysts and all these people that know. But that would mean the Jets, who 3 years ago went out and got Sam Darnold, are going to have 2 quarterbacks. No, no, no. Why would the Jets want more talent? What they did was they said, hey, Carolina, do you want to trade? We'll give you Sam Darnold. He's basically new. He's kind of good. He had mono for a few games, whatever. He's fine. Here you go. We know who we're going to take at number 2, a.k.a. Zach Wilson. We've been talking about him from day one. You're welcome, Full Spectrum. Sam Darnold goes to the Carolina Panthers for a 6th, a 3rd, and a 2nd over the next 2 years of the draft. Big Data, take your mind off everything. What the heck is going on? And why doesn't anyone like Terry Bridgewater? Why don't they like him?
Teddy, for some reason, keeps getting discarded. Kind of like my feelings today. I didn't have a lot of time. Been a little preoccupied. I didn't have a lot of time to crunch numbers on this deal, but I did have a chance to go to the NFL trade value chart. And essentially, if you were doing the deal, like say Darnold was the 3rd pick this year, and you were going to trade a 6th, a 2nd, and a 4th for Darnold, essentially, I mean, people would really laugh at you, but essentially you're giving up the value of the 10th overall pick this year. So from 2018 to today, in the deal they just did, essentially Darnold has gone down so much in value that you're basically giving away the 10th pick in the draft for free.
I see what you're saying. Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that by Carolina bringing Sam in, are they going to try the double quarterback situation? Do you think they're just going to make Teddy the secondary quarterback? Because that seems to be where his bread and butter is. It seems like when he's coming off the bench, he's even better. I mean, obviously, last year he had a decent season, but he had a phenomenal season, even though granted it was like 5 or 6 games when Drew was gone in New Orleans a couple years ago. But I'm kind of wondering, maybe that's where everyone kind of pegs him. Maybe he's not a starting quarterback. I think he was decent. I'm a little surprised that
Maverick, I didn't tell you this earlier, but we've had a guest on this show that deals in NFL news breaking. I'm not gonna mention him by name at the moment, but I have a feeling he's working on some leads, and that Teddy is not going to be a Panther.
You think you like it. See, I would agree with you. And there are NFL teams that would really, enjoy Teddy and they would want him. So, okay, so Carolina, is that an upgrade then? Let's get this out in the boat. Do you think the upgrade to Sam is a better deal for them? I mean, take away the fact that he's younger, we all get that, but is he a better quarterback right now?
Teddy's a better quarterback.
I don't think so.
He's more expensive.
Right.
And, this is kind of an NBA or a Major League Baseball style move that you don't see in the NFL very often. They're basically saying, Sam had, some star qualities when he was drafted. Basically, Carolina's betting that the Jets just messed him up, and that he's actually has some talent in him, and they're buying really low. So this happens all the time in the NBA, happens all the time in the MLB, and it doesn't happen too often in the NFL. Trades are kind of the amount of trades is way up compared to what it used to be in previous decades and whatnot. It's just more of a recent phenomenon. So yeah, this is like the new style. Data front offices, they're buying low. Someone who had a lot of, who could have been, people thought could have been a star if he was in the right program. And, maybe Carolina's probably not thinking they're going to be so good this year, and they're going to give him a shot.
So this is my whole thing with it. If I've learned anything over the NFL and watching the drafts and everything, I don't understand why the Jets would get rid of him right now. Why not let him play? Zach, as much as we like him, and we've been pumping him since day one here, I got to be honest, I still don't know if he's NFL ready. Is he athletic? Yes. Is he, that kind of guy that can elude pass rushers and do all that stuff? Is he athletic? All the above. But, man, he's still kind of undersized a little bit. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, it's the new NFL. I get that. But I'm still not convinced that you played at BYU. The competition wasn't that of the SEC. Why not let him sit behind Darnold for 1 year? Let Darnold kind of show him the ropes. Not that he was going to teach him everything the way my buddy Aaron Rodgers teaches, Jordan Love over in Green Bay. But the reality is at least he's not thrown right into the fire. I think this was a horrible move by the Jets to basically say to everyone, we know we're going to go for Zach at number 2, and we're going to throw him right into the fire. I think it's crazy that they're doing that. The media on top of it. I mean, he's coming from, lullaby Utah to high-paced New York. I mean, just the whole dynamic of the whole thing doesn't make any sense to me in any sort of capacity in any way. And it's not like he's surrounded with a whole lot of talent with the Jets organization as well. I just think this is a recipe for disaster, and I don't understand the move in any sort of capacity.
I will not take any Zach Wilson shaming on this podcast. We're huge Zach Wilson fans.
I love the Zach.
Crushed.
Being honest,
he crushed his pro day.
Fail.
He had guys. The scouts were salivating over Zach Wilson. Salivating.
Okay, can I just say something about these pro days? All right, I know that the combine had to be canceled because of the COVID stuff and all that. I get it. All right, fine. But then these guys, these quarterbacks, especially, your Justin Fields and your Zach Wilsons and everyone else that are doing these pro days, they're not they're doing practice by themselves. It's just a camera, a couple of extra guys there taking pictures and writing down notes. No one's pass rushing them. The wide receivers are wide open, and everyone's making it seem like these dimes that they're dropping 30, 40 yards down the field is a big deal. Okay, let Aaron Donald come running at you and drop that into his bread basket, then you got my attention. But when you're doing it on a rollout pass and no one's in front of you, I'm sorry. And this goes for all of the quarterbacks and stuff like that. It's a little like a 40-meter, or pardon me, a 40-yard dash and all that stuff that they do. That's, it's on a clock. That's timed. But big data, you got to, let's call a spade here. These pro days are pretty soft, man.
The pro day cost Aaron Rodgers 24 spots in the first round of the draft.
Yeah. And some people consider him the GOAT and your host of Jeopardy. You tell me who went wrong
but
there.
mark my words, Zach Wilson is not one of those guys. He is going to be way better than Sam Darnold.
Wow. You know what? I'm going to hold you up to that. I hope you're right. I don't want to be wrong. You know me. I'm a stand-up guy. I'll admit when I'm wrong. But you're out, and not to say that Sam Darnold's a better quarterback. I'm just saying we're talking about going from level 1 to level 15 in 1 year. Like, that's the big jump.
And
the NFL
I don't like when you compare conferences. Some of these mid-major conferences are fantastic in all sports. You know that.
Well, they are, but I think we all saw this
and
year
how,
that it's
you just interviewed James Harrison, who went to Kent State.
Right.
He was sacking Ben Roethlisberger, who went to Miami of Ohio.
Hold on. Whoa. Back up. You know what? How dare you use the interview and my best friend against me? Let me tell you something, Big Data. Number one, what did he say? Due to some unfortunate circumstances, he had crates. I believe some of the schools that were coming after him, one of them was Notre Dame. I believe he said Michigan. I believe he said crates. So it was probably every major school. So based on the situation, Mr. Harrison was more than elite to go to any of the other school. He went to Akron. You know why? Because that school needed him.
We haven't interviewed Zach Wilson yet, so we don't know. Maybe the same thing happened to him. You never know.
All right, listen. I don't know why you're so.
Bring Ben Roethlisberger on this pod.
I know.
We'll ask him too.
You know what? You're getting a little testy, and I get it. And fine, you want to get that. You want to be that guy, Big Data. You want to be that guy. You want to get your venting out. Let's get it out. Like I said, my sex therapist says talk about it at all times. Here we go. I'm going to start off soft with you. Nice and easy, though. Let's talk about Saturday. If you didn't get a chance to watch that epic game of UCLA versus Gonzaga on Saturday, find your local providers. Make sure you get that channel. Make sure and find, the DVD, or Google it or YouTube it, something. You got to watch it. It was probably the greatest basketball game I've seen in 10 years. It was back. It was forth. It was David versus Goliath, but not really. Big Data, tell everyone how great you felt on Saturday. And then, unfortunately, partner, we got to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday.
I do prefer to reminisce about the good times. Saturday night probably goes down as the greatest win in Gonzaga basketball history, of which they've had many. What a fantastic game. As far as all-time games in the Final Four, one of them was when Providence upset Georgetown. The teams, they didn't have a three-point line back then, so it's a little different. The teams combined to shoot 63% from the field. And, Providence had to play the perfect game. And they did. And UCLA had to play the perfect game against the Zags. And they did. It was a phenomenal shooting game. Each team shot 58%, which, of course, now including the three-point line. From one of the stats, UCLA between 15 and 19 feet from the basket, so basically between the foul line and the three-point line, they were 9 for 9 in the game, which is just stunning. No team could get a lead of more than 6 or 7. It was high-end basketball, high-end coaching, lots of moves being made back and forth, and it was just a phenomenal game. Jalen Suggs showed everybody why he's going to be a top NBA pick. He had a sequence. It was tied at 77. Riley from UCLA was rolling to the rim, got the ball, going for a dunk. And from behind, Suggs blocked the shot, went to the corner, grabbed the ball, took one dribble, looked up the court, and threw a bounce pass to Drew Timme in traffic, right by UCLA's point guard, Tiger Campbell, who's super fast, and Timme dunked it. Um, then Andrew Nemhard, the Zags, the Canadian, steps back for a three. Zags have a 5-point lead. This is already, we're already into the overtime here now when they got the 5-point lead. And then, of course, UCLA comes back. Jaime Jaquez drills a three. It's 90-88. The Zags can't score. Come back with UCLA. Johnny Juzang, 29 points in the game. He was on fire. He was just a stud, just one-on-one, just knocking shots in people's faces. He misses a shot in the paint, but everyone tried to block it. So he got his own rebound, puts the ball back in. 3.3 seconds left in the game. Kispert inbounds it to Jalen Suggs. 3 dribbles, just inside half court, fading to the left, shoots the shot, banks it in, game over. It was a high stress affair for me, but once he hit that shot, it was just elation.
Absolutely. A lot of people are going, man, that was a fluke shot. I actually completely disagree. I mean, with what was it, about just under 3 seconds or just 3 seconds exactly left in the game, he takes the ball over midcourt. And I mean, Steph Curry's been doing this for years, which I think we've talked about before on this podcast. That shot as yes, it was far and it's harder to make, of course, but that shot looked calculated to me. He said, "You know what? I'm just going to jack and I'm going to hit it against the backboard. I'm opening the bank and I'm going to put it in the back." And you know what? To me, that was more of his calculation than it was the actual shot. I felt like he actually planned to do that. Obviously, it went in and it worked in his favor. But even if it didn't go in, Big Data, I felt like he was literally trying to bank it, not to try to swish it and all that stuff. I felt like that was a beautiful play. And I mean, how amazing was that? And it doesn't matter even if you were cheering for UCLA at that moment, you had to have looked up and go, wow, what a game. Unbelievable. And I mean, if you watch Twitter or Instagram or any of the social medias after, it did, from LeBron James down to the guy at the local convenience store, everybody absolutely loved that game. They could have ended the tournament right there. At that exact moment, they could have ended it. And I'm sure everyone, even Baylor, would have been said, you know what? Hey, that was a great game. Give it to him. Give it to him. But unfortunately, they had to play each other come Monday. And Big Data, this is all I'm going to say, and I'll let you say your piece. And get it all out, buddy. Get it all out. I like I said, just vent. Get it all out. Because this is your boys. The Zags are your boys. I have to say, did they just leave everything on the court on Saturday? And do you think that was the problem heading into Monday?
I mean, Baylor's fantastic. The Zags, for sure, just not just physically, but emotionally, that game was so. It was just 13 million people watched it. Everyone was talking about it everywhere. I mean, I'm sure even the next day, I'm sure the players barely slept that night. I mean, to tell you the truth, I was so excited. I hardly slept that night. The fans were going crazy. I'm sure they were just getting billions of texts and on Sunday when I was looking back on the game and I was thinking about Monday night, I thought to myself, man, I hope they have enough left in the tank to take on Baylor, because Baylor is an awesome team. And then as soon as the game started, you could just, I mean, it was 9-0 right off the bat, 16-4 right away. And you're like, well, these guys have nothing. Yeah. They have nothing at all. And then, it got to halftime and the Zags made a little bit of a run. They were down 19 in the first half. They got it to 10. And you thought to yourself, okay, maybe, just maybe they have enough in the tank to go after these guys. And as soon as the second half started, you could see it. Baylor looked like they hadn't played a game in a month. They had a ton of energy. And, at one point, I mean, they were on fire. At one point, they had hit 10 of 18 threes, and Gonzaga was 1 out of 10 for 3, right? So a +9, that's 27-point difference. I mean, really, there was no chance. I think even if you even if it was in a bubble where each team had a week off to play, I think it would be a really tight game that Baylor maybe even still would win. They just played that well, and we all know if Baylor's hitting threes, they're unstoppable. So really, it was more disappointing in the fact that although UCLA didn't beat them Saturday night, they they beat them Monday night because they took everything out of the
Mm-hmm.
Zags. They only play 7 guys. They took such a blow at the Zags for them to come out of it. They had nothing left, and Baylor was an awesome team. So both ways, like Baylor, I think Baylor had a chance to beat the Zags anyway, but the Zags would have to play a fantastic game to beat Baylor. But they played like they stunk on Monday night. They had 8 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of the game. Suggs got 2 fouls in the of the game. They couldn't get the ball into Timmy. He was getting pushed around. Like Baylor was just on, like just even physically and emotionally, they're just on such another level. And the Zags, you could see like Kispert couldn't hit his threes. Nemhart he couldn't even dribble half the time in the first half. Suggs was trying to do too much, and it was really just a mess. And I think they could mixing in the defenses, just trying everything, and then they were like dribbling the ball off their foot, kind of thing, right? Which is, I mean, the Zags scored 70 points. I mean, I think 83 was they had scored the whole season. So I mean, it was in the end, it was just you know Baylor just was so dominant that it was just a frustrating game to watch, and in the end, just disappointing in the fact that yeah, Baylor kind of cruised against Houston. They had a ton in the tank for the Zags, and then the opposite happened to the Zags.
See, though I think you're being a little nice, and this is where I said to you, you got to let it all out. This is not going to help you any if you keep it all bottled in, big data. My biggest problem, I thought Jalen Suggs um, was that Saturday game he played unbelievable. That whole scenario where he blocked the guy, then that bounce pass, and and then obviously the shot at the end. But he was the X factor in that game. Kispert, the guy that they kind of relied on all year, where was he? And in fact, I'm gonna even go a little further back. He had some flashes, that beautiful dunk in that UCLA game and all that stuff. I get it, but he wasn't that dominating guy that everyone kept talking about. I'm sorry. Like, was this just because of the conferences he plays in, and he was able to dominate the personnel on other teams that weren't as maybe loaded with talent? Like, I hate to say it, if this guy was the West Coast Conference Player of the Year, where was he for the dare I say the last 2 games? He was there. UCLA, I'll give him some half points, but that last game,
So
man, wasn't there. So what? Are you not
Kispert
a
didn't
little
play
mad at him?
well
Come on, let
against
it out. Let it out.
USC or UCLA, and then he didn't play well against Baylor. So he wasn't shooting well the last 3 games. We're just used to the whole season. The guy he was a 55, 45, 90 guy, which is like amazing. Like he was even missing the last 3 games. He was missing free throws. He's a 91% free throw shooter. Threes the whole season, even against the top competition at the beginning of the season, Kansas, West Virginia, Virginia. I mean, he was crushing like 60% threes against those guys. And then, I mean, he was like 2 for 8 from three against UCLA. And then he hit a couple against Baylor, but it wasn't a factor. And he was struggling enough where he wasn't even looking for a shot. So, yeah, definitely Kispert let them down. Him and Timmy, their defense, all, Oklahoma, UCLA, and then Baylor, they really picked on the Zags one-on-one. They would just do high screen and roll, get Kispert or Timmy on a guard, and then the guards would just fire away. And they were just hitting shots like crazy. Like, I mean, like I said, Baylor was 10 out of 18 late in the second half, which is, I mean, I don't care NBA, I don't care NCAA. If people are firing like that on you, you have a really tough time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that takes me to my last question. Let's talk about the NCAA champions a little bit. Got to give them a little bit of love and a little bit of respect. You brought it up during the first time we talked about NCAA. This team is a three-ball. They're almost like the Houston Rockets. They're from the same state. They kind of took a page out of their book. I had heard yesterday on the broadcast that some of their biggest guys are just 6'8", right? And so this team was reliant on the three. It's like live or die, and I guess
Well, and they're
it works in the
very
NCAA for some
strong
reason.
and very athletic. So you could definitely see they had an advantage physically in the game, and they were pushing the Zags around like big time. They pushed everyone around.
Yeah.
Really, nobody challenged them. You could say, okay, Villanova was leading at the half in the Sweet 16. But other than that, they steamrolled everybody. Very impressive. Davion Mitchell was a beast. Jared Butler, he didn't play that well the whole tournament. He played really well in the Final Four. And they have Maceo Teague, a really good player too. We'll probably see 3 or 4 of these guys in the NBA, and they're going to be good players. Like, Davion Mitchell, he might be a guy where they draft him in the middle of the first round, and he's turns into like Spider Mitchell from Utah Jazz. He's a really good player.
You just took my. Are we positive?
He might be. He might be
that he wasn't the same
I think
person.
so.
I mean,
I don't think the Jazz played that night,
yeah.
did they?
You know what? I would look into it, Big Data. We might be able to get them that national championship after.
Baylor's, they didn't have to change their strategy much. They play the same way on offense. They have a really aggressive style of defense that Mark Vital is just smashing people all over the place inside and really good on defense. So they just had 8 players deep. Everyone was just hitting that. Flagler off the bench was hitting. Meyer off the bench was hitting threes. Mitchell, Butler, Teague. They were just, I don't know how you stick with a team like that. They were fantastic.
They absolutely were. Well, so I'll say it. You don't have to. Congratulations to the Baylor Bears, NCAA champions. We get it. Way to go. P.S. You guys also were the ones of Robert Griffin III, and that panned
Baylor's
out to nothing. So
basketball powerhouse. Their ladies
whatever,
team is
right?
a national championship a few times as well. So they're a full power now. But I mean, this team was years in the making. Yeah. They're going to lose. They're probably going to lose 4 or 5 guys from this team, 4 starters probably. So they're going to have to reload for next year. But I mean, fantastic group.
Did that make you feel better? They're gonna
Zags are always good. I told everybody,
right,
don't worry. As soon as I see the recruits coming in, I'll be happy again.
Big Data's not wrong.
And a little love to the ladies, to the women's basketball. I believe.
Yeah, Stanford beat Arizona. Exciting game. They won by 1, and Arizona had a chance to win at the end, and Stanford stopped them. So, good job on the ladies' side too.
I saw that. I don't know. Yes, it was.
The Pac-12 is back.
Epic games on
both sides
as well. Absolutely. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? All right, Big Data, let's get down to it. It's the great debate. I'm going to just take what happened yesterday and what happened on Saturday and ask the simple question. Grab your buddies, grab a drink, sit around, have a coffee. I don't care what you do with it. Here it is. It's great debate. So your Zags last-minute shot won the game. You saw the UCLA team just absolutely deflated and hurt last night. Your Zags got absolutely trounced by the Bears. Not a good. The question simply is: would you rather lose at the last minute on a buzzer beater, or do you want to get trounced in any sort of game, especially a national championship game? Which one is a?
So for
loss?
Me, I mean, just the joy of beating UCLA was awesome. So I would rather hit the buzzer beater, take that positivity, ball it up, put it away somewhere, than feel like I do today after Baylor trounced Gonzaga. And then, later in the spring, summer here, I'll bring that little ball of positivity out and I'll be happy again. Maybe.
I don't. Yeah, it's gonna take a while. I know you're trying to be strong for everyone, all the full spectrum.
I'm still upset at when they lost in 2017 to North Carolina. It's gonna take a while.
Oh yeah, See, this is what I'm talking about. See, you're doing it. You're going back to that bad place.
Thanks, Dr.
You're going
Maverick.
back there again, aren't you? Don't go there. Don't go there. Not a problem. For me, real quick, you know what? Because I've been on so many on the other side where getting trounced felt normal, I'll go with getting trounced. I'll be honest with you. I mean, after a while, you kind of give up, and then you say to yourself, we weren't ready. You can justify it. You feel better about it. You're like, whatever. To lose, like in the Zag game, if you're UCLA, you're like, oh, come on, man. We played such an excellent game, and this is how we go down. I'm going to go with getting trounced. Just take it. Just take the lump and walk away. And you know what? People will forget about you.
You know,
deal. So there it is.
Soon I'll be, a couple weeks from now, I'll just be bragging that I'll be like, the Zags were in 2 of the last 4 final games.
Exactly. And then that douchebag.
I'll be like, but we were there.
Like, yeah, and they lost both of them. There it is, you guys. The Full Spectrum Podcast. There it is. The great debate. Listen, for all those Zag fans out there, be like Big Data. It's gonna be fine. Next year, you guys got a great recruiting class. It'll be good. We move on. Next week, we'll talk about something else. We'll get off it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it sounds like your voice is a little more
it's very cathartic. Thank you.
Thank
you.
I did my job.
I'll sleep better tonight.
There it is. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you soon.
The Full Spectrum Podcast, presented by Champions and Legends. Champions and Legends produces hemp-derived CBD sports supplements for athletic preparation, performance, and recovery. Discover Champions and Legends on the World Wide Web at championsandlegends.com.
Take that for data.
The meatloaf!